My name's Jeff St. Laurent. Welcome to the Live Tuesday call. We have a great crew on today, as usual, and I'm fired up to deliver some great information around today's topic, and that being creating a full-time income as a coach, the realities and time frames. Before we get going, I always record my Live Tuesday calls, and I post them on my website or in my website under my university. So my website is sellingcoaching.com. If you go to sellingcoaching.com, go to the university. That is my fantastic resource that I have for all my coaches. And my role is I help coaches transition to a full-time business. And as I help them transition to full-time, I tend to focus on the art of selling, the skill set of selling, because since I've been doing this full-time since 2004, that's been the number one skill set that I've realized has allowed me that continued success. So that's kind of where I help my people and how I do it. So check out that university, get some great education there, a lot of details. Use the search feature, type in some keywords to see what it pulls up, and you can gather the education from there. I just posted my 70th call last week, so we're consistent and on a roll. Also, at the top of my website, sellingcoaching.com, you'll see an invitation to join my private Facebook group. So if you're on Facebook, I'd ask you to consider checking that out. You don't have to, but consider checking it out. I've got a great group of coaches. We're approaching 1,200 coaches in there, and we got a lot of great stuff of interaction in there. Really great platform. I like to use it for helping coaches express themselves through video and other mediums. So check that out. I'd love to have you and get to know you a little bit better on my private Facebook group. And then right on my homepage at sellingcoaching.com, I have a great resource available for you. It's the ultimate startup guide for new coaches. I kind of joke around a little bit, and I offer you my dog if you enter your name and email address, and then I say, hey, just kidding. So it's part of my humor, but not only that will you get my resource guide for starting up, but also you'll become a part of my email community. And that's an important aspect because especially if you're looking to go full-time, email is a huge aspect to what we do. So not only staying in tune with what I'm doing, but more importantly, so you can start to see how I role model in terms of using my email community to stay in touch with and market to my audience. So those are some great things there as well. I want to get rolling on this topic because this is a real big one, and that's creating a full-time income as a coach. And I work with a lot of one-on-one mentoring clients. I got my group mentoring clients. And as I work with people, and interact with coaches, obviously, in my Facebook group as well, there's a lot of people that, we're so passionate about coaching and we want to do this full time, and everyone's under different circumstances, whether they have a job or don't have a job, different financial circumstances and stresses as well in terms of lifestyle and living and family and responsibilities. So no matter where you are, as I thought about today's topic, and I'm like, well, how can I break this down for people so that it's more statistical? Meaning, I can't guarantee, I wish I could, I can't guarantee that, you can do this in 6 months or a year or 2 years. I can't give you that specific time frame, but I said, well, you need to have some expectations, because my hope today is that if I can give you enough statistics, and this is what I've realized through working with enough clients who are doing coaching, and then also more importantly, over the last 13 years or so doing a full-time coach, looking at the statistics that I go by in my business in terms of how I gain clients and what are the numbers, what does it take, and how does that translate to income. And then what we can do is we can extrapolate that out into like a time frame based on some metrics I'm going to give you today. Hopefully this is starting to make sense. I'll get specific, but so this way you can start to create your own goals based on how you work and what's actually happening in your business. Because there's one thing, I had a few people also talking about, before they called in, they said, they're setting goals in their business, but then it's like, well, I don't know if those goals are achievable or not. I want them to be, but how can I really embark on something if I don't really know how do I go after it, and is it real or not? And so what can happen there is when you set the goals, you can at least use these base statistics that I give you. And these aren't made up statistics that I'm going to give you. These are statistics that I realized in my business and have been consistent over a decade plus. And that's doing it the way I do it. And when I say doing it the way I do it, I'll present the model is what I talk about today in terms of realities and time frames. I'm going to base it upon this. You're doing a coaching business. And whether you're doing it face-to-face, more, real-time face-to-face in the real world, if you will, or virtual, meaning online, And I've done both. I've done 9+ years face-to-face, and I've done almost 3 years of completely virtual. So, and my statistics are still the same. They translated in both areas, right? But, and do that with your number one product, and or if your only product that you sell is one-on-one coaching. All right, and that's what I'm going to base this upon. I'm not basing it upon if now or in the future you have products like books or courses. I've had plenty of those as I've gone along. You can do group courses, group coaching, anything like that. But so that's all like the cherry on top, so to speak. That's all extra stuff. But I'm just talking if you're going to create a full-time income just from one-on-one paid coaching, that's the metric and the scale that I'm going to use today. Right? So I've done that over the years, and I've created a great income from that. But on top of that, I've also done some other things. Like I said, I've had products, I do seminars, I get paid for those, group coaching, group courses, and things like that. So there's other ways to get revenue in your coaching business. But I'm just going off of the premise right now, like I said, is just we're selling one-on-one coaching, and we're just getting clients, maintaining clients, and marketing to get clients. All right? So first off, I want to start off and say this. Our business is all about one thing. It's all about one thing, and it's exposure to people. That's it. And it's about exposure to people, meaning us getting in front of people. And because what that ultimately does is when we're exposed to people, new people ideally, what happens is out of those new people, there's a certain percentage of them that are going to like us. They're going to like our message. They're going to like what we do. And when they do that, hopefully we got it set up where they come on to our circle, if you will. Like your circle meaning your email list, maybe a social platform. If you notice on my today's call, when I started off, I said, hey, what'd I say? Check out my website. And I said two things, right? I got my private Facebook group that I asked you to consider joining. And I said, I also have a great resource for you right on the homepage at sellingcoaching.com, right? That gets you on my email community, right? If you like what I'm doing, right? So I send you my university as well. So maybe you don't do that stuff right away because you don't really know who I am, right? Then you go to my university, I start educating you. You come on one of these calls or you listen to the recordings, and hopefully at some point you're like, wow, I like Jeff. I want to know more. I want to be in this circle, so to speak. And so those are my two places where I get my people, meaning they're in my circle, whether in my Facebook group and on my email list, right? They have exposure to me. I can stay in contact with them, right? That's building my audience. That's where my audience lives, so to speak. So that's the main premise of our business is exposure to people and building our audience. That's basically it. You've heard people say, oh, it's a numbers game. It's a numbers game. What does a numbers game mean? It's like, okay, well, if you get in front of enough people, the odds are from that you should be able to get clients from that. And so that's what I'm going to base the premise of these statistics on today is what I realized through my business, and this can help extrapolate out to kind of where you can go. And I've worked a few numbers just to kind of, I'll plug it into the formula, and trust me, there's no like hardcore math here. It's basic multiplication and stuff like that. So, you can change your numbers like based on what you charge and your package price and all that good stuff to come up with your numbers. But let's put it this way, first off, you've got to figure out, and I'm going to base it all upon income, right? This is all upon income because at some point you realize if you're doing this as a business, it's about income, meaning, oh, what do you mean? Well, does that mean you don't care about your clients or you're not passionate about your clients or helping people? No, of course we are. That's why we're doing this, right? But I'm basing this upon you've got to be revenue focused. You've got to know where your revenues are. You got to know how much you need for the end of the month. What's your goal for the end of the month? I'm looking at on sometimes a daily or a weekly basis, and I'm like, okay, where am I at? What do I want to do this month? Where do I want to go? Who can I add? Who can I call? You know what I mean? I want to keep that going. Can I get some more clients in there? Can I bill a few more hours this week? For some clients that are on that type of a billing, because I have like some corporate clients, for instance, So in other words, every session I have with them, I bill them at the end of the month. So if I can get a few more in this month, that could be an extra $500 I could have, just through that little extra work. So we've got to be conscious of that with our revenues. So in terms of statistics, here's what I want to do. This is about exposure to people. So when we come to an idea of our financials, we've got to say this. If I want to earn a full-time income as a coach, what does that mean? What does a full-time income mean? like in a dollar amount. Is it $50,000 a year? Is it 100? Is it 200,000? Is it 80,000? I don't know what it is for you, but you need to figure that out. And if you're like, well, I don't know, I would basic like this. Let's get away from like what we want to earn. So like, oh, I want to earn a six-figure income, or I want to earn $250,000 a year, whatever you want to earn, right? It doesn't matter. I'm not saying don't dream. What I'm saying right now is start with a base number. And I'm just just being super uber realistic with you today, especially because there's so much marketing hype out there. So look at your expenses, and whether, you have a job now and you're looking to quit, I'd say look at based on your finances in your household, whatever your situation is, what's the minimum dollar amount you need to bring in every month, the minimum dollar amount where you can take care of your responsibilities without going into debt or digging into savings. What is that number? And if you've got a spouse or someone that can cover that stuff, whether it's easily or maybe pushing it a little bit, talk to them and see how you can do. What's the minimum number? The goal is to get that as close to zero as possible. And it's still maybe $5,000 a month, whatever it is. But that's the number that we need to get to, in other words, in order to replace whatever income you have right now, so you can go part-time, quarter-time, or just quit your job. And what you can do is if you have a job that has, like, let's say benefits, right? You got healthcare benefits and whatever other benefits that you have that are getting through your job. Take a look at what does that translate to into a dollar amount. As a quick example is, if let's say through my job I'm getting healthcare coverage. In some people's jobs are nice where you don't have to pay a dime. They cover your health insurance, 100%. And some people pay a smaller amount. They might pay whatever, $100 a month or $200 a month for their health insurance. So whatever that is, figure out, for instance, well, what would, if I can't get on my spouse's plan or something like that and I had to pay for it myself, what would health insurance cost me or my family if I had my business full time? Take that dollar amount and add that to your monthly income. So now now you have a realistic picture of what you're going to be responsible for. You know what I mean? In terms of finances, to get that minimum dollar amount. And translate that to a yearly number. So, okay, I need $50,000. I need $70,000. And that would be a full-time income for me. And so that's why I would want you to start basing these numbers on what to go through with you on is at a minimum number. And so don't think like, oh, well, Jeff, I want to earn more than that. Well, of course you want to earn more than that. But let's get the realistic picture of what it's going to take, especially if you have a job, to get out of that job. If you don't have a job, that's fantastic. I'd still come up with, what's the minimum number you need, and you can start to go from there. So with that being said, in order to translate today's numbers, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use, remember I said we're just selling one-on-one coaching. I'm going to use a package. If you're selling coaching, a coaching package, I always recommend one package. I typically recommend 9 sessions for a certain dollar amount. And I've done some other calls in my Selling Coaching University where I go over that. If you type in like pricing structure or coaching packages, I get a couple calls on those. If I go into a lot of details as to why I recommend that. But for today's call, I'm going to use 9 sessions for $1,500. What that translates to is that's $167 a session. And the reason I'm using that number as an example today is because when I recommend, part of the reason why I recommend 9 sessions and a price point, I'd say ideally close to like 150 or so to 200, maybe 125 as a minimum, is we have to remember, as a coach, we're not getting paid. We only get paid for that one session. We can only have we can only have so many sessions a week, and I'll go into those numbers. So you have to realize when you have a session, the work it takes to actually gain a client in terms of marketing efforts, that's a lot of work, and that's really what you're getting paid for, so you're putting a lot more time into somebody. And it's not just the sessions, it's the time you also put in like interacting with that person before you actually before they actually sign up and pay you and have, let's say, the 9 sessions. I mean, if you're doing a complimentary session beforehand, and then assume let's say there's another, let's say, hour of pre-qualification work, whether it be back and forth messages, emails, conversations, etc., maybe to get them to that complimentary session. So not to mention the marketing efforts you did that attracted them in the first place. So when you think about, oh, I'm charging $150, I'm charging $200 or wherever a session, I'm like, oh, was that a lot or little? Well, it's like you're doing a lot of work just to get that one client. So when we actually have our sessions, not only that, we are professionals and we're doing something very unique. We deserve to get paid well for that, and we need to, especially if we want to create a full-time income. So if I'm going to use a package of 9 sessions for $1,500, and then what you can do is as you go through this, you can plug in your own numbers, and you might be in a position where you need to change your numbers. Maybe you need to raise your prices, because the reality is if you're too low in your prices, and if you go through the formulas and you're not able to get to the minimum income number, that might be because your prices are too low. So with that being said, 9 sessions for $1,500, that works out to $167 per session. Now, from statistics that I have found over the course of time that I can do best and handle 10 to 12 one-on-one coaching sessions per week. That might not sound like a lot, like, oh my God, wow, Jeff, 10 sessions, that's it? You can do more, absolutely. But what I found is, in order to be present for your clients, know who your clients are. I remember years ago when I was things were blowing up and doing certain things. I was doing events. There were weeks where I had 35, 40 one-on-one sessions. It was 8, 9 hours a day on the phone. I was going through phone batteries like nothing. And there were times where the person was calling me next. I literally didn't remember who they were, it wasn't good. I still did my job. It did well, but I didn't like that. And so what I found is you might have a bigger week here and there, and that's great. But I found that I can sustain. If I average, that's the average. If I can average 10 to 12 sessions a week, one-on-one, that's a good, healthy number to go for. With that being said, I'm just going to use the number 10, so 10 sessions a week. So if I have a per session cost of $167 and I'm doing 10 sessions a week, that's going to give me $1,670 per week. All right, so you can do your math based on your numbers as well. So if I'm making $1,670 a week, let's just multiply that by 4, just basic math, right? I'm doing times 4 weeks in a month, so that's $6,680 a month. So now right there, you should get a good idea of, if I'm charging that per session price, and if I'm doing 10 sessions, if I'm averaging that at least, I'm going to do about $6,680 a month. Now you can go back to your monthly minimum number and say, okay, where does that meet? Does it meet it? Does it beat it? So forth and so on. And then based on that minimum number, you can say, like, let's say you only needed $5,000 a month. Well, then you can translate it out to figure out, well, how many clients a week would I need to average for that? Maybe that average would come to 7 clients a week. I didn't do the math, but you can figure that out. So at least you can work your numbers that way. I'm trying to show you. But either way, if I'm doing $6,680 a month at 10 sessions a week, right? 10 clients a week at $167 a session. If you do that times 12, that's $80,000 a year. All right, and so I picked those numbers just based on what could give you a realistic full-time income. And $80,000 a year for most people is a decent income, right? Some people are like, oh my God, there's no way I could live off of that. Some people would like, oh my God, if I can make 80 grand a year, that would be like crazy amazing, right? So everyone's in different situations. But I felt like that was just a good, healthy income to start with. But you've got to realize if you're pulling in a 6 or multiple 6-figure income right now, and you need to replace that, not only does your per session price probably need to be higher, definitely over, you at least need to be at $200 a session if you want to achieve a 6-figure income off of the 10 sessions a week. And then from there, if you're doing more, you can leverage it by maybe doing more group stuff and or having more products and other packages and stuff on top of that. But if we're just talking one-on-one, I'm trying to give you those numbers. So that's about an $80,000 a year thing. So now let me give you some more statistics. So that's how you can start to figure out kind of where we can get what income can I get based on what I charge. And I'm giving you the statistic to work from is averaging 10 sessions a week. And I want to stress averaging. There are some sessions I'll have 4 or 5 one-on-one sessions, and there are some weeks where I have like 15 to 17. It's, you know what I mean? It just depends on the cycle of clients and where they are and what they need. So that's the ebbs and flows of entrepreneurships. You know, I've had $25,000 months. I've had $3,000 months, like back to back. You know, sometimes. So you've got to prepare for that. That's why I say it's averaging that over the course of month per month. So that statistic there is that 10 clients. Now here's another really good statistic that's going to help us, you know, pull these goals to bring in the time frames. So in order to get 10 or average 10 sessions a week of paid clients, the statistic that I've realized is that in order to get that many clients, you need more than 10 clients, right? I found in order to average 10 sessions a week, I need to have 2.5 times that of active clients. Meaning, if I times 2.5 times 10, that's 25 active clients. Meaning, if I'm averaging 10 sessions a week, that means I have 25 active paying clients. And why that number is because not everyone's meeting on a weekly basis. You know, I found through coaching is that, you know, it depends on what type of coaching you're doing. But even when I was life coaching, even when I'm mentoring right now, especially, you know, I start people off on a weekly basis. But then things happen, meaning there's a vacation, summer's coming, someone's sick, someone needs to cancel, they're doing more work in between our session and they want a little bit more time. You know, there's so many variables that can happen where, you know, a client's not going to meet you on a weekly basis. And that can change depending on what's going on and also what's going on with you as well, based on your schedule, et cetera. So that's why I found that based on all those variables, in order to average 10 sessions a week, you need 2.5 times that in terms of the amount of clients. So I need 25 active paying clients in order to do that. That's just a statistic for you. So now you can start to figure out, like, oh, I've got 10 clients, but I'm only having, you know, 3 or 4 sessions a week. Well, that's because they're spreading themselves out. We need to start getting clients. So now we know how many active clients, let's say, we need in order to get that average that 10 sessions a month. Okay, now let me give you another statistic. This is where we start to pull it all together. Is okay, well, if I need 25 active clients, well, how long does it take me, or what do I have to do in order to get those 25 clients, right? So now let me give you this. This is a very important statistic. And I'm going to pull this back in from the beginning of the call and saying that, you know, our number one activity was exposure to people. And with that exposure to people, the idea from there is obviously building our audience, meaning the people that like us, et cetera. They join our email community. They're in a, you know, like a private Facebook group, some type of social platform. They're in our circle. So I'll say this. For every 100 people that you're in front of, you're speaking your message to, meaning I'm speaking it live face-to-face, I'm doing it on a live event like this, a call like this, a telephone conference, a webinar, I mean, you name it, however you're getting exposure to new people, you do a meetup group and 5 people show up, right? For every 100 people that you speak to, whether it's one at a, you know, 100 at a time or 1 at a time, but for every 100 people that you speak to, ideally, that should translate to about 5 paying clients. That's the number I've realized there. 5 paying clients. So it's about 5% of those 100 people will turn into paying clients. And I'll say that over like the next 2 weeks. So if I spoke right now today, let's say that I'm doing a conference call and there's 100 people on the call right now, I would expect over the next 2 weeks that I would have about 5 clients out of that. And when I say the next 2 weeks is because that's not just going to happen either, by the way. You know, I do this call to these 100 people. I've got to have not only a great call, but I've got to have a great form of, if you will, lead capture or some call to action where people actually reach out to me, follow up with me, so I can get a percentage of those 100 people, you know, on my list, or, you know, I'm interacting with them. And then that's me following up with each and every one of those people that respond and digging up time and need and qualifying them and getting to know them. And from there, I should be able to find my 5 people over the next few weeks. I'm just trying to show you a little bit of that work involved to get there. So if it takes me, or it takes you, right, to speak, in order to get 5 clients, I need to speak in front of 100 people. Let's turn this into time frame as an example. If you had a goal of speaking to 100 people each month, and I'll do this with some of my mentoring clients. If someone comes to me and they're like, Jeff, I'm not getting clients, or things are slow, or whatever it is, the number one question I'm asking them is, well, how many people did you get in front of this week or this month? And not only that, it says, well, how many of those people that you spoke in front of, how many did you follow up with? And then how many did you approach, meaning ask if they'd consider hiring you? Because there was a reason why we asked them. Maybe they had a need going on, there was good timing for it, et cetera. That's how we get clients. So if you were to speak in front of 100 people a month, let's assume you got your 5 clients from those people. And we just got to work off some basic statistics, right? So in order to get my 10 sessions a month, which what I say earlier, in order to get 10 sessions, you need to multiply that by 2.5. That's the number of active clients you need in order to get 10 sessions. So that's 25 active clients. So if I speak in front of 100 people a month and I get 5 clients out of that, it's going to take me 5 months in order to get my 25 active clients. Now we have to remember there is some attrition. I can't give you any real solid attrition numbers, but for the sake of easy transition I would do it like this. If someone hires you for 9 sessions, assume that takes them 3 months to go through. That's what I found. 9 sessions takes someone just about 3 months to go through. So just assume every 3 months that client's done. People will rehire you. I have plenty of people rehire me. That happens quite frequently, but I just want you to go off of, okay, 3 months and that client's done. So you have to remember, if it's taking me 5 months, right, to get my 25 clients, well, 3 months in, those first 5 clients, let's assume they're done, right? So I'm not trying to make this complicated. I'm just trying to give you, this is the reality in terms of numbers, right? So really, after 3 months in, my first 5 are done already. And then 4 months in, my next 5 are done already. So the reality is, in order for you to get your 10 sessions a month, I've extrapolated out the math from there, but it's probably going to take you, probably 8 or 9 months to get up to that, or maybe in that 10th month, get up to that speed. And let's hope that at some point, at least 1 or 2 of those 5 people each month start to renew. There's nothing better than when you're working with an existing client, and then after you're done with them, they renew with you. And I've had really good not luck with that, let's say, but just I've had good fortune in terms of clients wanting to stick with me after they're done. I've had probably about a 60% renewal rate, so 6 out of 10 will continue to work with me. But I want you to base your numbers on no one's continuing to work with you. They do their 9 sessions, takes them 3 months, and they're done. This way, anything else is a bonus. And I'm just trying to give you real numbers so you can really predict it, right? So let's say based on some attrition, et cetera, it takes you about 10 months to get those 25 active clients. And now you have to remember, that's assuming you're getting 5 new clients a month because you're in front of 100 new people every month. So if you're like, oh, Jeff, I'd love to do that, but I tried it for my first month and I worked my ass off just to get in front of 50 new people. Okay, so if you were in front of 50 people a month, we would double that time frame, meaning that would probably take you about 20 months, where you're getting up to that full-time number. Now we're closing in on that 2-year mark, if you will. So I can't guarantee anything, and I can't say like, oh, this will happen or that won't happen. What I wanted to do today is to give you some realistic numbers based on some realistic statistics that I've seen, so then you can start to do your math, because it's basic math, hopefully, and I will open up the call in a little bit to get any questions around that if you need me to elaborate or clarify something if you didn't understand it. But the point of that is I would work your numbers. You've got to work your numbers to see what the reality is, and then the cool part is once you know your per session price and your package price, really the only number that you really need to be aware of moving forward, starting off, is how many people you're speaking in front of every month, right? So if I'm going to give you any metrics to walk away from in terms of getting the other statistics, is how many people you're in front of every month, right? And sometimes it's hard to quantify, right? Like for instance, I'm doing this live Tuesday call, right? I can look at the call report. Let's say there were 9 people that called in when I started off, and I know a few more people came in, as we started the call. So let's just say there were 10 people on this call. Well, that's 10 people I'm in front of, right? There's a certain portion of them that are brand new, but the reality is that when you speak, whether it's in front of new people or your existing crew, for instance, count them as people, because whenever you're in front of people educating them, that's what I want you to count that from. So it doesn't have to be like 100 brand new people that you've never been exposed to. That's the ideal situation, but even if they've been in your audience for a little while, that's just furthering your relationship with them, educating them further, helping them further, closer to getting them coming along. So let's say this, for instance, I've got 10 people on this call, let's say, that called in today. Great. So I can say, okay, that's 10% of my 100 people this month, right? And so if I did that every week, because I do a call every week, and let's assume there were 10 on each call, that's 40 of my 100 people, right? I can't quantify how many people will listen to the recording, whether they're part of my audience or not. I know there's quite a few, but what does quite a few mean? I don't know, right? There's really no way of quantifying that. I know the number's bigger than that, right? It would be bigger than my 40 by the end of the month. But I also know I've got to get in front of more people, right? And so that's why I do some other marketing efforts in terms of doing my videos, Facebook Lives. So some of it's, especially if you're doing online stuff, it's harder to quantify, your 100 people, et cetera. But do your best you can in order to, take a look at that. It's obviously much easier as I'm doing a speaking engagement and there's 15 people in front of me. Okay, great. That's 15 of my 100, right? So it's much easier to quantify from a live face-to-face piece. If you're doing a Facebook video, for instance, and you post on your Facebook page and it says, wow, I got 500 views. And you're thinking like, damn, this is awesome. I got 500 views. This is going to be easy. Well, you have to realize doesn't mean that 500 people watched your video or read what you wrote. It means that, as people scrolled, they came across, your video, or they came across your article, right? It doesn't mean that they took the time to read it. It just means that, it came into their view, The statistics, if you watch videos, like for instance on Facebook, if you're posting videos on your page, you can look at the back-end statistics. And I've seen some of my videos that say, let's say 500 views, and I look at the back end, and it shows you not only how many people viewed it, meaning that's passed by it, or impressions they would call it, but it shows the number of people that have watched it to a certain second mark, meaning X amount of people watched it to 2 seconds, to 5 seconds, to 10 seconds, or to completion. And you're going to see that those numbers are actually very, very small, meaning, out of those 500 views, I might have had, 7 or 8 people watch it to completion, at the most. So that's the reality of some of those numbers. So don't let, I posted a video on Facebook and it said I got, 500 views. Okay, well, Jeff said I'm going to get 5 clients for every 100 people I'm in front of. So shouldn't that be, my 25 clients? You know what I mean? Like, no, that's not how it works. So there's a little bit of ambiguity to being in front of people in terms of online. But do the best you can on tracking that, and that's going to help get you to understanding what your statistics are. So when you get to those 100 people that you speak in front of, how many people did you convert to paying clients? Maybe you're blowing that number away. I've spoken to 100 people and I've gotten more than 5 clients. I spoke in front of what was it, maybe 50 people at an event once, and I got 10 or 11 paying clients out of it in that one time. Fantastic, right? I find live events, face-to-face events, I would convert higher, if you will, than I would like a virtual event. With a virtual event, it would take more time and effort because I'm going to do more interaction with those people. But either way, find out what your statistics are, and that will help you get back to maybe calculating some of your numbers, which then you can turn